Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. The most important issue for Americans continues to be the economy, and there's new evidence that under Donald Trump, public anxieties and gloom have now reached record levels. But Donald Trump keeps digging in and saying the problem is with the public.
President Trump doubling down on the economy, now claiming that there's virtually no inflation, and most recently also saying quotes like this: "I don't want to hear about the affordability."
So I don't want to hear about the affordability because right now we're much less. It's the biggest reduction in cost in the history of that chart or whatever it is they do.
All data, including from the U.S. government, shows that inflation and prices under Trump keep rising, not dropping. But never mind the economic reality, public perceptions and consumer sentiments are also a huge problem for Donald Trump.
Here, take a look here. This is consumer sentiment, the current conditions. Consumer sentiment can be the current conditions or it can be future expectations. We're looking at current conditions. And get this, according to the University of Michigan, we are dealing with the worst ever view of current conditions dating all the way back since 1951. This is record-breaking in the way you don't want to be breaking records. And get this, Kate, it is down 30%. Consumer sentiment of current conditions down 30% from January when Donald Trump took office.
In other words, in just 10 months, public confidence in the U.S. economy has plunged by nearly a third. And just in the last month, consumer confidence dropped a startling 6.2%. The recent plunge correlates with the government shutdown, which is now ending. However, consumers say their pessimistic views are being driven by their own personal finances and by anxieties over business conditions. And the director of surveys at the University of Michigan says the decline in sentiment the past month has been widespread throughout the population and has been seen across age, income, and political affiliation. And instead of consumers blaming the government shutdown or saying that these problems are a carryover from the Biden administration, a clear majority of the public say the negativity is because of Donald Trump.
It would be one thing that President Trump could ignore it if folks weren't blaming him for it. But take a look here. Trump's policies have worsened economic conditions in America. Look at this. We're dealing with a super majority here. We're talking about more than 3 in 5 Americans, 61%, who say that Trump's policies have worsened economic conditions in America. How about worsened your own finances? Again, we're dealing with a majority here. 51% of Americans say that Trump's policies have worsened your own finances. This is double trouble for the President of the United States.
Harry Enton is right. The first trouble is the economy itself. Consumer sentiment accounts for about 2/3 of all economic activity. When consumers are feeling good about things, they spend more and the economy picks up. When consumers are feeling down, they spend less and the economy slows down. So with consumer confidence down to record levels, the economy in turn is going to sputter even more. The second problem for Donald Trump is political. When the economy slows down or enters into a recession, the blame almost always falls on the party and the president in power. And the key voting demographic to watch is the group that generally decides most elections, or independents and other unaffiliated voters. CNN looked at the sentiments of those voters, and the news for Trump is catastrophic.
And look at this. Disapprove of Trump on the economy among pure independents. We're talking about 4 in 5. 79%. I'm laughing because you rarely ever see a number this high. 79% of pure independents disapprove of Trump on the economy. How about this? This is no outlier, Kate. This is no outlier because look at Marquette University, their law school. 76% of pure independents disapprove of Trump on the economy. When you put it all together with the approval ratings, it averages out to a net approval rating on the economy among pure independents of, get this, minus 58 points.
Net approval on the economy of minus 58 points. Here's what that looks like in the split. Among independent voters, 18% approve of Trump's handling of the economy, 76% disapprove. There is underwater, and then there's being near the bottom of the ocean. And that minus 58%, especially with independents, helps to explain the drubbing Republicans got in the elections the other week. Independent and moderate voters in every county and state shifted away from Republicans and towards the Democrats. And the shift was even bigger than a lot of analysts in both parties had anticipated. To be fair, the midterm elections are still nearly a year away, and a lot can change on the economy and consumer sentiment in a year. However, most economists believe the economy is about to get worse before it gets better. There's a lot of talk on Wall Street about AI and real estate bubbles about to burst. In some parts of the United States, real estate has already started dropping. And if the stock market tanks, as many investors now expect, that will add to existing public anxieties about personal finances and the business climate. On the other hand, if the Trump tariff regime eventually produces some predictability or stability, and more manufacturing and investment actually pours into the United States, the U.S. economy could pick up. But in the meantime, American consumers are in an especially foul mood. And every time Donald Trump lies and says prices are down and inflation has been defeated, the political and economic ditch that Donald Trump is digging gets deeper. By the way, Republican Nancy Mace of the U.S. House continues to make waves. The lawmaker from South Carolina who was running for governor became infuriated recently when police did not escort her through the Charleston airport as she had arranged.
Did I drop an F-bomb? I hope so. Did I call them incompetent? I hope I did, because they earned it. So I am not going to apologize for holding people accountable for their work product. I'm just not going to do it. I, again, have had over 24 security breaches at this airport so far this year, and we're only 10 months in, basically, to this year. I've had over 24 security breaches. If that doesn't make you go, I don't know what else will. I do not feel safe flying through the Charleston airport. I don't feel safe by the way this has been handled. And I'm not going to compromise my safety of my employees when they travel with me, the safety of my children when they travel with me. Safety is not, I'm not going to compromise on that. I'm not going to allow mediocre government employees to put my life at risk.
Mace is now suing the airport and the police.
The case is seeking damages for defamation per se and reputational harm, as well as full public correction and/or retractions for the allegedly false reports from the airline, airport, gate agents, and police officers involved, according to a statement from Mace.
You look at the headlines recently, Sandra, and you got an apoplectic congresswoman who's having a psychotic episode in Charleston at an airport. You've got this debate over white nationalism. I think Trump is saying Republicans quit talking about all of that.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Amazing, who wrote, "She is delusional. She's a public servant, not a celebrity." I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump crashing U.S. consumer sentiment and bringing down the U.S. economy. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.